alaikum. I welcome you all in the third week lectures of internal combustion engines ME215. In today's lecture, we will cover chapter number 3 of book Denison, and the title of chapter number 3 is Air Standard Cycles and their analysis. So these are the learning outcomes of today's lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to cover the Otto cycle, which we have already covered in previous lectures. So we will do a brief recap of the previous lectures, that what is the Otto cycle. Then we will derive the expressions of thermal efficiency, work output, and mean effective pressure of the air standard Otto cycle. And then at the end of today's lecture, we will do the uh, numerical solving, that is we will do the learning of air standard cycle through problem based learning. So this is the standard practice which we will follow in the diesel cycle, dual cycle, and the Brayton cycle as well. That is, first we will derive the expressions for thermal efficiency, work output, and mean effective pressure, and then we will solve some numerical. So this is a common practice, and these derivations may also come in the exams. Like, these are the three derivations: thermal efficiency, work output, and mean effective pressure. We may ask in the midterm or in the assignment or in the quizzes or in the final exams one of these derivations. Then there are the problem solving, that is the numericals. They may also come in the final paper or in the other examination modes of today our course. So these are the numerical which we are going to solve at the end of today's lecture. So first, towards the solution of the numericals, if you remember in the course of thermodynamics as well, we learned that the actual engines are very complex, and if we want to calculate the efficiency, work output, mean effective pressure, and other performance parameters of the actual cycles, then it will be rather very complex. And it will be very difficult as well. So, and it will be very time consuming, very complex as well. So what we do, we go for the simplification, we go for the assumptions, and we end up with the uh, ideal cycles. So the luxury and the advantage with the ideal cycles is that they are very simplified form of the actual cycles, and it will be very easy to calculate the performance parameters of the idealized cycles. And but the disadvantage is that the efficiency and the other parameters of the idealized cycle will not be equal to the let's suppose if we want to calculate the efficiency of the actual engine, then the efficiency of the ideal cycle will be higher than the efficiency of the actual engines, because in idealized engines we are ignoring all the losses. We are ignoring the pressure losses, heat losses, and the frictional losses, and the all other losses. So if we ignore all the losses, then definitely we will get the higher values of efficiency, higher values of power output, higher values of the mean effective pressure. But um, the thing is that these values will be qualitatively near to the parameters of the actual engine. Let's suppose the power output of the actual engine is 10 kilowatt. Then the ideal engine may give like 15 kilowatt or 12 kilowatt or 8 kilowatt. Oh, sorry, not 8 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt or 12 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt, somewhat higher value than the actual engine. But it will not give like something like, if the actual engine has the power output of 10 kilowatt, then the air standard engine will be giving like 1000 uh, kilowatt power output. So uh, the order of magnitude will be will be near to the values of the actual engines. So what are these assumptions? These assumptions are called air standard assumptions. This thing you have already learned in the course of thermodynamics. Let's revise these assumptions: that the working fluid is air, which continuously circulates in the closed loop, always behave as an ideal gas. So the working fluid is air, number one, and it circulates in a closed loop. That is, we have a closed system, and it always behaves like an ideal gas. So we can use the ideal gas relation. And if you compare it with the actual engine, we compress. Let's suppose we have a SI engine, the auto engine, that we compress the air fuel mixture Then the combustion takes place, the exhaust gases are formed, these exhaust gases push the piston downward, and then we throw the exhaust gases out of the cylinder, and the air, fresh air fuel mixture come into the cylinder. So the working fluid is continuously changing, but we are assuming that in the idealized engine, idealized cycle, the working fluid is always air. So its temperature will increase, its temperature will decrease, but it will remain air, and it behaves like an ideal gas. Number two, all the processes that make up the cycle are internally reversible. That is, internally reversible means there will be no losses, there will be no frictional loss, there will be no heat losses, and something, and so that we have a reversible process. uh, we are neglecting the losses. Number three, the combustion process is replaced by heat addition process. So we will not consider the combustion process, although instead of that, we are considering that the heat addition will be the heat transfer process, the q in process will be like a heat addition process, and there will be like a heat exchanger, and only a heat exchange is taking place between the working fluid and the outside source which is supplying the heat. Similarly, the exhaust process is replaced by heat rejection process that restores the fluid to the initial state. It is assumed that there is no heat loss from the system to the surrounding because we have considered that the system is reversible, and the ideal system, the working fluid, that is air, has constant specific heat values which are determined at room temperature. So we will be using the cold air standard assumption, that is the Cp and Cv are constant. And the advantage of these assumptions are that they simplify the actual engines and enable us to determine the performance parameter which are qualitatively near to the parameters of the actual engine. So this thing we have already learned. Otto cycle. In Otto cycle, we have 1 to 2 isentropic compression, 2 to 3 constant volume heat addition, 3 to 4 constant isentropic expansion, 4 to 1 constant volume heat rejection. So uh, 4 to 1 is a constant volume, so V4 will be equal to V1, and this is like the piston will be at bottom dead center. So V1 is equal to V4 is equal to VBDC, bottom dead center. Similarly, V3 will be equal to V2, and this is the volume. Uh, at this point, piston will be at top dead center, and the volume formed in the cylinder when the piston is at top dead center is the clearance volume. So V2 is equal to V3 is equal to Vc, and the dis and the difference between V1 and V2 is the swept volume. So let's do the first derivation, that is drive the thermal efficiency expression for the Otto cycle. We know that efficiency is W net divided by Q in. We can also write W net as Q in minus Q out divided by Q in. We can break the LCM. So Q in will be cancelled out. So 1 minus Q out upon Q in. This we can call it equation number 1. So according to thermodynamics, we have learned that energy in minus energy out is equal to total change in energy of the system. So this is the law of conservation of energy. And what are the modes of energy transfer? This is Q in minus Q out, work in minus work out, energy through mass in minus energy through mass out. So it will be equal to total change in energy of the system, and the total energy consists of internal energy, kinetic energy, and potential energy. So change of internal energy, change of kinetic energy, change of potential energy. Since we are assuming that we have a closed system and the system is stationary, so we can neglect the change of kinetic energy, change of potential energy, and energy in, energy out through mass can also be neglected. So we are left with, so if we apply this energy balance at process 2 to 3, in process 2 to 3, q in is taking place, and there is no work in and work out, and there is no q out. So q out will be 0, w in and w out will be is equal to 0. So q in will be equal to u3 minus u2, and we can replace the change of internal energy with mcv delta t. So mcv t3 minus t2. Similarly, we can also write for the process 4 to 1. In process 4 to 1, we have only q out, no q in, no work in, no work out. So it will be minus q out, because q out has minus q out will be equal to u1 minus u4. So it will become u1 minus u4, final minus initial, and the minus sign will come out, will come here, so it will become u4 minus u1, and we can replace u4 minus u1 with mcv delta t, so it will become q out is equal to mcv t4 minus t1. So it will give you a positive value for the q out because t4 will be greater than t1. So before the heat rejection t4 temperature at 4 will be higher than at temperature at point 1. So T4 minus T1 will give you a positive value. Similarly, T3 minus T2. T3 will be higher than T2 because after the heat addition temperature will increase. So T3 will be greater than T2. So T3 minus T2 will also give you a positive value for the Q in and Q out. Q in, and T4 minus T1 will give you a positive value for Q out. So we can replace Q in and Q out values in equation number 1. 1 minus mcv t4 minus t1 divided by mcv t3 minus t2. mcv will be cancelled out. We can take t1 common, so it will become t4 upon t1 minus t1, and we can also take t2 common from here, so t3 upon t2 minus t1. So we can call this equation number 2. Now we know that we can use the isentropic relations. So if you remember my words that in when we were doing the chapter number 7, the entropy chapter in thermodynamics, I told you that we will be using the isentropic relations in the future courses as well. So T2 upon T1 will be equal to V1 upon V2 to the power k minus 1, and V1 upon V2 is the compression ratio, maximum volume divided by minimum volume. At point 1 will be maximum volume, at point 2 there will be minimum volume. So V1 upon V2 will be compression ratio. We can represent the compression ratio with R to the power k minus 1. Similarly, T3 upon T4 will be equal to V4 upon V3. Since 4 to 1 is constant volume heat addition, constant volume heat rejection, so V4 will be equal to V1, and uh, 3 to 2 is also a constant volume heat addition process, so V3 will be equal to V2, and V1 upon V2 is R. So we have right hand sides same, so we can compare the left hand side. So T2 upon T1 will be equal to T3 upon T4. So we can simplify this equation, we can do the arrangement, so it will become T4 upon T1 is equal to T3 upon T2. So we can put these values in equation number 2. So T3 upon T2 and T4 upon T1 is replaced by T3 upon T2. So this thing will be cancelled out. And 1 minus T2 upon T1, T2 upon T1 is equal to V1 upon to the power k minus 1, R to the power k minus 1. So 1 minus R upon k minus. So this is the expression of efficiency of thermal efficiency of Otto cycle. And we can see clearly that the thermal efficiency of Otto cycle is a function of only two parameters. One is the compression ratio and the other is the uh, specific heat ratio, and both the values are in the division. So if we increase the compression ratio, uh, uh, this value will become, so if we so 1 upon r to the power k minus 1 will be a smaller value, and if we subtract a small value from 1, a larger value will come out, so efficiency will increase. Similarly, for the k, if we increase the k value, 1 divided by r to the power k minus 1 will come out to be a smaller value if we increase the k values, and if we subtract the small values from 1, we can get the larger value. So efficiency will increase with increasing r and k. So there is a direct relation between r and k. So if we plot the efficiency as a function of compression ratio, we can see that the compression ratio is increasing if the efficiency is increasing if compression ratio is increasing. And in the start it increases rapidly, then it increases slowly. Similarly, if we plot the efficiency for different k values, in the book k is represented by gamma. So gamma and k are same. So k is equal to 1.3, k is equal to 1.4, k is equal to 1.67. So as k is increasing, you can see that efficiency is also increasing. So here we have a smaller efficiency, here we have a larger efficiency. Okay, so we can see that efficiency is only a function of compression ratio and the k values. So efficiency is independent of heat supplied in pressure ratio. Now let's do the work output derivation. So the net work output for an auto engine can be expressed as P3 V3 minus P4 V4 divided by K minus 1 minus P2 V2 minus P1 V1 upon K minus 1. So if you remember chapter number 4 of thermodynamics, where we applied the law of conservation of energy to the closed systems, there you learned the moving boundary work, and this expression you derived for the polytropic process P3 V3 minus P4 V4 divided by K minus 1. So you can go through the old lectures or the books angel, you can see the derivation of this thing. So I can show you here. This is the expression and this is the PV diagram. So if you also remember in chapter number 4, the area under the process curve on a PV diagram represents the work done. So this is the process curve 3 to 4. So the area under the process curve 3 to 4 will be this area, and this will be work out. This area will be work out. And if we subtract uh, the area under the process curve 2 to 3, 1 to 2 is this thing. This is the process curve 1 to 2, and area under the this curve will be work in. So if we subtract work in from work out, we will get the net work output, and the net work output will be this area, the area under the cycle. This thing. So area under the cycle is the net work output. So this thing is net work output. This area, this is net work output. So area under process curve 3 to 4 minus area under the process curve 2 to 1 will give you the net work output. And area under the process curve 3 to 4 we can write P3 V3 minus P4 V4 divided by K minus 1. And area under the process curve 2 to 1 we can write P2 V2 minus P1 V1 divided by K minus 1. So what we have done, we have subtracted larger values from smaller values. So pressure at P3 will be higher. So P3 V3 minus P4 V4, it will give you a positive value. Similarly, pressure at P2 will be higher. So P2 V2 minus V1 will give you a positive value. Why we have used the negative sign? Because work in is negative and work out is positive. So positive for the work output and negative for the work in. So this is, we can call it equation number 1. So you know that for the isentropic relation, we can write P2 upon P1 is equal to V1 upon V2 to the power K, and V1 upon V2 is R, compression ratio. So we can write P2 upon P1 is equal to R to the power K. P4 upon P4 is equal to V4 upon V3. V4 is equal to V1. V3 is equal to V2. So it will also be equal to R to the power K. Similarly, we can assume that P3 upon P2 is equal to P4 upon P1 is equal to RP, pressure ratio. So we can see here in this diagram that we are moving between two pressure levels. One is the low pressure level, this is the constant pressure line, and this is the another constant pressure line, and this is the high pressure constant line, and this is the low pressure constant line. So we are going from low pressure to high pressure. So P3 upon P2, from here we are going from low pressure to high pressure. P3 upon P2 will be the pressure ratio, and P4 upon P1. So we are coming from the same pressure level to the low pressure level. So this ratio will be same. P3 upon P2 will P3 upon P2 is equal to P4 upon P1. So this thing we have written here, and we have called it this parameter RP. R is the compression ratio and RP is the pressure ratio. So I advise you to please remember these values, because we will be using these values in the later part of the derivation. V1 upon V2 is equal to R, and now V1 is equal to V4, V2 is equal to V3. You can see this thing from the figure. Now V1 will be equal to RV2, and V1 is equal to V4. V4 is equal to RV3, and V3 is equal to V2. We can use these formulas. Now we can put these values in equation number 1. So what we have done, we have taken P1 V1 common. First we have taken P1 V1 common. So P1 V1 common, so P3 V3 divided by P1 V1, because in P3 V3 P1 V1 was not common, so we have to divide it by the P1 V1. Similarly, P4 V4 divided by P1 V1 minus P2 V2 divided by P1 V1, P1 V1 will be cancelled out with the P1 divided by P1. So now we can write, we can multiply P3, though this is P3 upon P1, so we can multiply and divide by P2. So P3 upon P2, P2 upon P1, P2 P2 will be cancelled out, and V3 will remain same, and with for V1 we have written RV2. So what will happen, this P3 upon P2, we just wrote that P3 upon P3 upon P2 will be equal to RP, and P2 upon P1 will be R to the power K. So we can replace uh, P3 upon P2 as RP, P2 upon P1 as R to the power K. Now this is V3 upon V3 upon V2, and V3 and V2 are same, so V3 and V2 will be cancelled out. We are left with 1 upon R. So RP, R to the power K divided by R, minus P4 upon P1, and P4 upon P1 is RP. P4 upon P1 is RP, P2 upon P1, and we have replaced V1 with RV2. V1 is equal to RV2, and V2 will be cancelled out, 1 upon R, and P2 upon P1 is equal to R to the power K. So this thing and plus 1. Now we can, R to the power K and R have same base, so it will be RP R to the power K minus 1 minus RP R to the power K minus 1 plus 1. We can take RP common here, we can take minus 1 common here, then R to the power K minus 1 will be common, so RP minus 1 R to the power K minus 1 minus 1. So this will be the expression for the work output of the Otto cycle. P1 V1 to the power K minus 1 RP minus 1 RK minus 1 minus 1. Now mean effective pressure. Mean effective pressure formula is work output divided by swept volume. We have just derived the expression for the work output. We can use this thing, and swept volume is V1 minus V2. We can replace V1 with RV2. We can take V2 common out, V2 R minus 1. So we can put the values of these expressions. So work output is P1 V1 divided by K minus 1, RP minus 1, RK minus 1 minus 1. So we have put this expression divided by swept volume. So now V1 upon V2 is R. V1 upon V2 is R. P1 R, K minus 1 will come in the in the division, K minus 1 R minus 1, RP minus 1 R to the power K minus 1 minus 1. So this is the expression for the mean effective pressure. So if in the numerical, if you have been asked to calculate the efficiency, you can directly use this formula. You can directly use this formula, or you can use this formula, the starting formula, this formula. You can use this formula as well. So you will get the same answer. Similarly, for network output, you can use this formula. You will get the same value, or you can also calculate the network output by Q in minus Q out, and you can calculate the mean effective pressure by using this expression. Now let's solve the numericals. 3.5 is example 3.5 is book from book Sengel. It is the solved example. A gas engine working on the Otto cycle has a cylinder of diameter 200 millimeters. So D is 0.2 meter, bore is given, and stroke is 250 mm. That is L is 0.25 meter. The clearance volume is 1570 cc centimeter cube. Find the air standard efficiency. Assume Cp and Cv. The Cp and Cv are given. It's a simple numerical. So what we can do, first we need to find the swept volume, because compression ratio is 1 plus Vs upon Vc. Vc was given. So we need to calculate Vs. So if we know swept volume and clearance volume, we can easily calculate the compression ratio. Swept volume will be pi by 4 d square into L. D is bore, L is strokes. We know the stroke, we know the bore. We can put the values. The swept volume is coming out to be 7.85 exponent minus 3 meter cube. We can convert it into cc because clearance volume is also in cc. So we need to multiply 1 with 1 exponent 6. So compression ratio is coming out to be 6. So it's a logical value. And if your concepts are clear, you can confirm this value as well. So maybe let's suppose if you have done some calculation error and the compression ratio is coming out to be, let's suppose, 60. So you can straight away think that the auto cycles have low values of compression ratio because they have the problem of knocking. So auto engine cannot be operated at a high compression ratio value. So they have the compression ratio values between 6 and 10. So now we know the compression ratio. We can calculate K or gamma with the formula Cp upon Cv is the formula for K. Cp and Cv are given. So K is coming out to be 1.4. So now we have learned that efficiency is only a function of compression ratio and specific heat ratio. So we know both the values. Now we can easily calculate the efficiency. So efficiency is coming out to be 51.2%. And please note that this is the idealized efficiency. So the actual engine may have like efficiency of around 45% or 46%. So the actual engines will have lower efficiency because air standard cycles are the ideal cycles and we have ignored the losses, so they will have higher values of efficiency and power output. Now let's move forward to the next numerical. Solve example 3.6. In a SI engine working on the ideal Otto cycle, the compression ratio is 5.5. The pressure and temperature at the beginning of the compression are 1 bar and 27 degrees Celsius respectively. So P1 and P1 are given. The peak pressure P3 is also given. Determine the pressure and temperature at the salient points. The air standard efficiency, mean effective pressure, assume rate ratio of specific heats to be 1.4, that is for that is K is given. So it's a very simple numerical. Initial values are given, so we can calculate all the pressure and temperature values at the other salient points. So we can use the isentropic relation. P2 upon P1 is equal to V1 upon V2 to the power K. V1 upon V2 is R is given 5.5 to the power 1.4 and initial pressure 1 bar is given. So P2 is coming out to be 10.88 bar. Similarly, we can calculate T2 by using the isentropic relation. T2 upon T1, V1 upon V2 to the power K minus 1. V1 upon V2 is R. T1 is given. So we can calculate T2, 593.4 Kelvin. So these are the very simple steps. Now P3 is given, 30 bar. So for process 2 to 3 we can use the ideal gas relation because we are using the air standard cycle where the working fluid is air and we can assume that air is an ideal gas. So P2 V2 divided by T2 is equal to P3 V3 upon T3. V2 and V3 will be cancelled out as they are equal. V2 and V3 are same. It is a constant volume heat addition. Now P2 is known, T2 is known, P3 is known. We can easily calculate T3. Now we can use the isentropic relations on process 3 to 4. P3 upon P4 is equal to V4 upon V3. V4 is equal to V1. V3 is equal to V2. V1 upon V2 is R. So now P3 is given, we can calculate P4. And you can also confirm these values that P4 should be less than P3. P4 should be less than P3 because P3 is the highest pressure. And after 3 to 4 is the expansion process. So when you have the expansion, pressure will drop. So you cannot get a value greater than 30. So since the pressure value is less than 30, so it seems that the values are good, values are correct, value is correct. Similarly, we can calculate the T4 value by using the isentropic relation. T3 upon T4 is equal to V4 upon V3 to the power K minus 1. V4 is equal to V1, V3 is equal to V2, V1 upon V2 is R. So we know T3, we know R, we can calculate T4. So using the air standard efficiency formula 1 minus 1 upon R to the power K minus 1, R is known, K is known, we can calculate the efficiency. So I advise you to confirm, I advise you to calculate the Q in and Q out and then calculate the network output. So you can use the formula like 1 minus Q in upon Q out. 1 minus Q out upon Q in. So you will get the same answer. The mean effective pressure formula is work output divided by swept volume. So we can calculate the work output as area under the process curve 3 to 4 minus area under the 2 to 1. So P3, V3, P3, P1, P2, P3, P4 all are known. We can also calculate volume at V1, V1, V2, V3 and V4. So it will, like, we need to calculate four values. So instead of that, we can represent all the volumes in terms of clearance volume, and then the clearance volume will be cancelled out if we divide it by the swept volume, because we can also calculate swept volume in terms of clearance volume. So we put the values of P3. P3 is 30 exponent 5, 30 bar. So V3 is equal to V2 is equal to Vc. So V3 is equal to V2 is equal to Vc, clearance volume, minus P4 is 2.76 exponent 5. So it's a typo error, 2.76 exponent 5 multiplied by R V2. It is written RV2 because V4 is V1 and V1 is equal to RV2, and RV2 is equal to Vc. So R is 5.5 Vc minus P2 10.88 exponent 5. V2 is actually Vc, and V1 is equal to RV2 and V2 is Vc, so 5.5 Vc. So we can calculate the work output in terms of Vc. Similarly, we know that compression ratio is 1 plus Vs upon Vc. Here we can calculate Vs in terms of Vc. So put the values of work and swept volume here in the equation number 1. So you can see that Vc and Vc will be cancelled out, and we can get the mean effective pressure. Now let's solve the last numerical. 4-cylinder 4-stroke engine. So 4-stroke means it will be small n will be equal to n by 2. 4-cylinder K is equal to 4-cylinder 2.2 liter gasoline engine. This is the swept volume is given. Operates on the Otto cycle with a compression ratio of 10. The air is at 100 kilopascal and 60 degrees Celsius at the beginning of the compression process. T1 and P1 are given. Maximum pressure in the cycle is 8 megapascal. Maximum pressure is given. 8 megapascal will be 8000 kilopascal. The compression and expansion process may be modeled as polytropic process with a polytropic constant of 1.3. So you need to use this n value 1.3 instead of K is equal to 1.4. Using constant specific heat at 850 Kelvin. So you remember the property tables. So you can go in the property table and calculate the Cp and Cv at 850 Kelvin and determine these parameters. The engine, the temperatures at the end of the expansion process, that is P4, the net work output and efficiencies, mean effective pressure, the engine speed for a net power output of 70 kilowatt, the specific fuel consumption in gram per kilowatt hour. Okay, so the initial part is very easy. We can use the isentropic relations. P2 upon P1 is equal to V1 upon V2 the power. Instead of K, we should use N because it is a polytropic process. R is given, N is given, P1 is given, so we can easily calculate P2. Similarly, we can calculate T2 by using the isentropic relation. We can use the ideal gas relation on process 2 to 3. P2 V2 divided by T2 is equal to P3 V3 upon T3. V2 V3 will be cancelled out. P2 T2 and P3 are known. We can calculate T3. With the help of T3 we can calculate T4, and with the help of P3 we can calculate P4. It's very easy. Now Qin is equal to Cv T3 minus T2. Cv is is known, and T3 and T2 are known as well. So Qin will be 1646 kilojoule per kilogram because Cv unit is kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. So it will be kilojoule per kilogram. Similarly, we can calculate Q out with Cv T4 minus T1. So the net work will be Q in minus Q out, and efficiency will be net work divided by Q in. So efficiency is coming out to be 49.9%. Okay, so now using the ideal gas relation P1 V1 is equal to RT1, we can calculate the specific volume at point 1. V1 will be equal to 0.9557 meter cube per kilogram because P1 is known, T1 is known, and R value for air is known. So the mean effective pressure will be net work output, the specific net work output divided by V1 minus V2, and here you can see that volume are also specific. So V2 is equal to V1 upon R. We can take V1 common. So W net is known, 820.9 kilojoule per kilogram. V1 we just calculated 0.9557 meter cube per kilogram. R is 10. So mean effective pressure comes out to be 954.3 kilopascal. Now clearance volume can be found by using the compression ratio formula. R is equal to Vc plus Vs divided by Vc. R is known, Vs is 2.2 liter, dm cube was given, so we have converted into meter cube. So clearance volume is coming out to be 0.000244 meter cube. Total volume will be Vc plus Vs. So this is the total volume. The total mass of the air can be calculated with P1 V1 divided by RT1, and because Vt total volume will be equal to V1. So here we have used V1 is equal to 0.00244 because at point 1 the volume in the cylinder will be Vc plus Vs. It will make the volume in the cylinder, and it is the volume at the bottom dead center. So the total mass of air is coming out to be 0.002558 kilogram. So now we can calculate the RPM. So uh, this formula I can show you how it's working. So we can write that W dot net, its unit will be kilojoule per second. How can we calculate this thing? So we can start with W net specific. Its unit is kilojoule per kilogram. So now we need to multiply with, because we need to cancel out kilogram, because we need the unit in kilojoule per second. So we need to multiply with total mass. Total mass will have a unit of kilogram. So kilogram will be cancel out. So we are left with kilojoule. Now we need 1 upon second. So we can multiply with n. So n has a unit of, and n is equal to n by 2 for a 4-stroke engine, and n is RPM. So we can convert into revolution per second. So it will be revolution per second. So it will become kilojoule per second. So we can so if we put here n by 2, so n will be equal to 2 multiplied by W dot net divided by mass divided by specific network output. So this is the formula we have used. So from here we have calculated the n in RPM. So to convert revolution per second to RPM, we have multiplied with the 60. Now we know the total mass. So we were using the air fuel ratio formula. We can calculate the mass of fuel. So air fuel ratio will be equal to mass of air divided by mass of fuel. Mass of air can be written as total mass minus mass of fuel. So it can be written to, because MT total mass will be equal to mass of air plus mass of fuel. So here MA can be written in terms of MT and MF. So we know MT, we know air fuel ratio, we can calculate MF. And why we are calculating MF? Because we need to calculate the specific fuel consumption, and specific fuel consumption formula is MF fuel consumption divided by uh, network output. So so here you can see that we have multiplied with 1000, and we have also multiplied by 3600. So why we have done this thing? So you can see that here it is MF, its unit will be kilogram, divided by MT, its unit will be kilogram, multiplied by W net. W net unit is kilojoule per kilogram. So this kilogram will be cancelled out. So we will be left with kilogram per kilojoule. So now we can write this thing as kilogram per. So we can divide kilojoule, multiply and divide by second. So it will become kilogram per kilojoule per second is kilowatt into second. So in order to bring kilogram to gram, we have multiplied by 1000 because the answer is in gram. So we have multiplied by 1000 to bring kilogram into, to convert kilogram into gram. So if we multiply by 1000, it will become gram kilowatt. Now we need to convert second into hour. So in order to convert second into hour, we need to divide by 3600, and since second is already in division, so it will be multiplied with the main expression. So that is why we have multiplied with the 3600. So with this we can calculate the specific fuel consumption. So in order to produce the specific work output of 820.9 kilojoule per kilogram, we need to burn 258 gram of fuel for 1 kilowatt hour of energy. So I hope it is clear. So with this we end today's lecture, and now in the next lecture we will do the same pattern with the diesel cycle. That is, we will drive the thermal efficiency, net work output, and the mean effective pressure expression for the diesel cycle, and then we will do uh, the problem solving. That is, we will solve few numericals of the diesel cycle. So we will do this thing in the next lecture. So with this, Allah Hafiz, see you next time.